silence. Close your eyes. Let your mind paint the picture it already knows. A great medieval hall, firelight flickering across stone walls. A long table, heavy with food. Roasted meat glistening on a platter. Golden wine poured into silver goblets. Bread broken by rough, honest hands. It is a beautiful image, warm, rich, romantic. Films have shown it to you 1,000 times. Novels have described it. The history books have let it stand. And almost every part of it is a lie, low and deliberate. Here is a thought that should unsettle you. If a modern human being were somehow transported back to the year 1250, dropped into that feast, handed that goblet, offered that bread, the greatest threat to their life would not be the sword of a knight, would not be the plague lurking in the streets outside. It would be the food on the table in front of them. The modern digestive system, shaped by centuries of refrigeration, pasteurization, clean water, and food regulation, has lost the battle hardening of the medieval gut. Put it in a medieval kitchen, and it would not last 3 days. Let me show you why. Each word placed carefully. Start with the bread. It seems harmless. It seems like the most basic, safe thing a human being can eat. It was not. In the Middle Ages, grain provided up to 70% of daily calories. For peasants, for most of the population, bread was not a side dish. It was survival itself. And hiding inside that grain, invisible, odorless, completely undetectable, was a parasitic fungus, ergot. Medieval farmers could not separate it from healthy grain. It went into the mill, into the flour, into the bread on every table. And once it entered the body, the toxins it carried began their work. Blood vessels constricted. Burning pain spread through the hands and feet, as if the flesh itself had caught fire from the inside. Limbs turned black, died, and fell away from the body while the person was still alive. They called it St. Anthony's fire, and they had no idea what caused it. A modern body, with zero tolerance for ergot toxins, would begin collapsing within 48 hours. Not from battle, not from disease, from bread. What they added when the bread ran out. And that was in the good years. When famine came, and famine came often, flour became something else entirely. Millers and bakers stretched whatever grain remained with whatever could be ground into a powder. Sawdust, ground tree bark, chalk, clay. In the worst years, soil itself. The modern gut, encountering this, would not simply protest. It would shut down. Severe intestinal inflammation, blocked passages, internal damage that could not be reversed. And in a world with no surgery, no antibiotics, no way to intervene, a bowel obstruction was not an illness. It was a funeral. The meat and its secrets. Now move to the meat. Without refrigeration, without cold storage of any kind, decay begins the moment an animal stops breathing. Medieval butchers knew this. The entire culture knew this. And so meat was preserved in salt, packed in it, cured for weeks. The salt concentrations used were extreme, far beyond what the modern kidney can process without damage. Chronic high blood pressure, kidney failure, severe dehydration that no amount of drinking could correct. But salted meat was the safe option. Unsalted meat, the kind served at noble feasts, the kind held up in paintings as a symbol of wealth and abundance, was often already beginning to turn. The rich flavor that guests praised, the deep, complex taste that spices enhanced, was rot. Controlled rot, masked with pepper and cinnamon and cloves, not for pleasure, but to hide what the nose would otherwise detect. And spices mask a smell. They do not kill a bacterium. A single invisible colony of Clostridium botulinum living quietly in that glistening feast meat could stop a human heart within 24 hours. Part 5. The cookware that poisoned the cook. Could even if the food itself had somehow been safe, the vessel it was cooked in was not. Copper pots were common, widely used, trusted, and copper, exposed to heat and acid and moisture over time, produces verdigris, a toxic compound that leached silently into everything cooked inside it. Pewter was worse. The pewter cups and plates, considered a mark of modest prosperity, were made with lead, and lead has no threshold of safety. Every meal served on a pewter plate, every cup of wine poured into a pewter goblet. A slow, invisible accumulation. Anemia, neurological damage, kidney failure. A mind slowly unraveling without knowing why. Some historians believe lead poisoning shaped the behavior of entire courts. Erratic decisions, cruelty, madness, poured from a pewter jug. The water at the end of everything. And when the food was eaten, when the body, already under assault, reached for something to drink, the water waited. In medieval cities, clean water was not a right. It was not even a reliable possibility. Rivers carried everything: human waste, animal carcasses, the runoff of tanneries, slaughterhouses, and dye works, all of it flowing into the same water that filled the buckets brought home for drinking. Typhoid lived in that water, cholera, dysentery. A modern immune system encountering any one of them, without the lifelong, low-level exposure that gave medieval bodies their limited resistance, would have almost no defense. And without modern medicine, without rehydration, without antibiotics, without any intervention at all, survival was not a matter of willpower. It was a matter of luck. Nieth in the Middle Ages did not always announce itself. It did not always arrive on horseback, did not always wear armor, did not always carry a blade. Sometimes it was served quietly, on a wooden table, in a hall warm with firelight. The bread that burned from inside, the meat that smiled and poisoned, the cookware that gave slowly and took everything, the water that looked clean. The people of that time endured all of it. Their bodies had been shaped by generations of exposure, hardened by a world that killed the weak early and left only those who could somehow withstand it. The modern body has no such hardening, no such preparation, no such defense. 3 days, that is the honest estimate. Bread, meat, water. 3 days, and history would claim you the same way it claimed so many others. Silently, invisibly, served on a plate.